Before we begin this history, we step into a story that shaped the modern world. A story of power, belief, conflict, and consequences. This is the history of Osama bin Laden, a figure whose life and actions influenced global politics, security, and international relations in ways that are still felt today. In this documentary journey, we will explore his early life, his rise during war, his conflicts with nations, and the events that followed. We will move step by step through time, carefully uncovering the moments that defined an era. If you're interested in deep historical storytelling like this, subscribe, like, share, and comment to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next chapter of history. Now, let us begin. Osama bin Laden was born in 1957 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, into one of the wealthiest and most powerful families in the kingdom. His father, Mohammed bin Laden, was a Yemeni immigrant who rose from poverty to become the founder of the Saudi bin Laden Group, a massive construction empire that built roads, mosques, and royal palaces. The family had close ties to the Saudi royal household, giving young Osama access to privilege, education, and influence from an early age. Despite the family's wealth, his upbringing was shaped by strict religious discipline. He was raised in a conservative Sunni Muslim environment that emphasized piety, obedience, and devotion to Islamic teachings. Those who knew him as a child often described him as quiet, serious, and deeply religious compared to many of his peers. A major turning point came when his father died in a plane crash in 1967, when Osama was about 10 years old. The sudden loss had a strong emotional impact. Although the family remained wealthy, Osama grew up under the guidance of older relatives and religious mentors who reinforced conservative values and a sense of religious duty. During his teenage years in Jeddah, he attended elite schools where he combined modern education with religious studies. He developed a growing interest in Islamic history and politics. This period coincided with major changes in the Middle East, political unrest, wars, and ideological struggles that shaped the worldview of many young Muslims. In the mid-1970s, he enrolled at King Abdulaziz University in Jeddah. There, he studied economics and management, but his most important influences came from religious and political thinkers he encountered on campus. Some professors and guest lecturers promoted the idea that Muslims had a responsibility to defend their faith and lands from foreign influence. At university, bin Laden became increasingly involved in religious discussion circles. He adopted a lifestyle marked by simplicity and discipline despite his wealth. Friends recalled that he preferred modest clothing, regular prayer, and strict moral behavior. He also began donating money to Islamic causes, an early sign of his willingness to use his resources for ideological purposes. By the late 1970s, the political climate in the Muslim world was tense. The 1979 Soviet invasion of Afghanistan would soon become the event that transformed bin Laden from a wealthy, religious young man into an active participant in militant causes. As news of the invasion spread, he felt a strong sense of obligation to support what he saw as a defense of Muslim lands. Thus, by 1979, the foundations of his future path had been laid. A combination of wealth, religious conviction, political awareness, and exposure to radical ideas. These formative years shaped the beliefs and motivations that would later influence his role on the global stage. In December 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, igniting a brutal conflict that would become one of the most important wars of the late 20th century. For many Muslims around the world, the invasion was seen as an attack on a Muslim nation. For Osama bin Laden, it was a personal call to action. At just 22 years old, bin Laden left Saudi Arabia and traveled to Pakistan and Afghanistan. He did not initially serve as a frontline soldier. Instead, he used his family wealth and organizational skills to support the Afghan resistance, known as the Mujahideen. He helped finance training camps, build roads and tunnels, and establish supply routes that moved weapons, equipment, and volunteers into Afghanistan. Working closely with other Islamist organizers, bin Laden became part of a growing international network that recruited fighters from across the Muslim world. These volunteers believed they were participating in a religious duty to defend Afghanistan. Bin Laden's role as a financier and coordinator gave him influence and respect among militant circles. During the early 1980s, the Afghan war intensified. The conflict was marked by guerrilla warfare, airstrikes, and harsh conditions in mountainous terrain. Bin Laden increasingly spent time inside Afghanistan, gaining first-hand experience with military operations. He funded construction projects, such as fortified bases and tunnels in the mountains, which served as staging grounds for resistance fighters. By the mid-1980s, bin Laden had begun shifting from supporter to active participant. He joined combat missions and cultivated a reputation for personal bravery among his followers. At the same time, he deepened his ideological beliefs. He came to see the Afghan struggle not as an isolated war, but as part of a broader global conflict involving Muslim lands and foreign powers. In 1988, near the end of the war, bin Laden and his associates formally established al-Qaeda. The organization was designed to maintain the network of foreign fighters created during the Afghan conflict. Its goal was to continue militant operations beyond Afghanistan and to promote a broader vision of global jihad. When Soviet forces withdrew from Afghanistan in 1989, many participants viewed the outcome as a historic victory. To bin Laden, it demonstrated that a determined insurgency could defeat a superpower. This belief became central to his worldview and future strategy. The Afghan war transformed Osama bin Laden from a wealthy religious volunteer into a hardened militant leader with international connections, combat experience, and a clear ideological mission. The networks and ideas forged during this decade laid the groundwork for the global conflicts that would follow. Welcome back to our continuing history. In the first part, we explored the early foundations and the events that set this story in motion. Now, we move deeper into the timeline, into the moments where decisions, conflicts, and consequences begin to unfold on a global scale. As we continue this journey through history, take a moment to subscribe, like, share, and comment if you're enjoying the documentary. And be sure to turn on the notification bell so you can follow every part of this unfolding story. After the Afghan war ended, Osama bin Laden returned to Saudi Arabia in 1989 as a figure admired by some for his role in supporting the Afghan resistance. He was wealthy, well-connected, and increasingly outspoken about politics in the Muslim world. A decisive turning point came in 1990 when Iraq, under the leadership of Saddam Hussein, invaded neighboring Kuwait. The invasion alarmed Saudi Arabia, which feared it might be the next target. In response, the Saudi government invited a large military presence from the United States and its allies to defend the kingdom. Bin Laden strongly opposed the decision to host non-Muslim foreign troops on Saudi soil, which contains Islam's holiest sites. He publicly criticized the Saudi leadership and offered an alternative plan. He proposed using his network of Afghan veterans to defend the kingdom instead. The Saudi government rejected his proposal and viewed his criticism as a challenge to its authority. As tensions grew, bin Laden's relationship with the Saudi state deteriorated. His speeches and statements became more confrontational, accusing the government of corruption and of betraying Islamic principles. In 1991, under mounting pressure, he left Saudi Arabia and went into exile. He settled in Sudan, where the government allowed him to live and invest. During his years in Sudan, 1991 to 1996, bin Laden built businesses in construction, agriculture, and infrastructure. At the same time, he expanded his militant network, strengthening the organization he had helped found, al-Qaeda. Training camps and connections with various militant groups developed during this period. International concern about his activities increased. The United States and other governments accused him of supporting extremist operations and pressured Sudan to expel him. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia revoked his citizenship in 1994, cutting his formal ties to his homeland and freezing many of his financial assets. By 1996, facing heavy diplomatic and economic pressure, Sudan asked bin Laden to leave. He relocated to Afghanistan, where the Taliban had recently taken control of much of the country and offered him protection. This 6-year period marked a crucial transformation. Bin Laden shifted from being a regional dissident criticizing his own government to an exiled militant leader openly hostile toward the United States and its allies. The ideological positions and organizational structures he developed during these years set the stage for the global confrontations that followed. After returning to Afghanistan in 1996 under the protection of the Taliban, Osama bin Laden intensified his campaign against the United States and its allies. From bases in Afghanistan, he rebuilt and expanded the operational reach of al-Qaeda, transforming it from a loose network into a coordinated transnational organization. In 1996 and 1998, bin Laden issued public declarations accusing the United States of hostility toward Muslims and calling for attacks on American interests. These statements framed al-Qaeda's strategy as a global struggle rather than a regional conflict. Recruitment increased, and training camps in Afghanistan drew militants from multiple countries. The first major demonstration of al-Qaeda's expanded reach came in August 1998, when coordinated truck bombings struck U.S. embassies in Nairobi, Kenya, and Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. The attacks killed more than 200 people and injured thousands. In response, the United States launched cruise missile strikes against suspected militant facilities in Afghanistan and Sudan, escalating tensions further. In October 2000, al-Qaeda operatives carried out a suicide bombing against the naval destroyer USS Cole while it was refueling in Aden. The explosion killed 17 American sailors and underscored al-Qaeda's growing capability to strike military targets. The conflict reached a historic turning point on September 11, 2001, when hijackers associated with al-Qaeda carried out coordinated attacks in the United States. Commercial airliners were used to strike the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon near Washington, D.C., while a fourth plane crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers resisted. Nearly 3,000 people were killed. The September 11th attacks triggered immediate and far-reaching consequences. The United States, supported by an international coalition, launched a military intervention in Afghanistan aimed at dismantling al-Qaeda and removing the Taliban government that had sheltered its leadership. Global security policies shifted dramatically, leading to expanded counterterrorism operations and new international alliances. Between 1996 and 2001, al-Qaeda evolved from a relatively obscure militant organization into a central actor in world affairs. The attacks of this period reshaped international relations, security strategy, and public consciousness, marking the beginning of a new era of global conflict. And this is where we pause the story for now. In the next episode, we will continue with Years in Hiding, 2001 to 2011, exploring the decade-long search, the shifting global landscape, and the final chapter of this timeline. If you're following this historical series, be sure to subscribe, share, and comment to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you're notified when the next part is released. The story continues in the next episode.